Well, welcome again to everyone. And it's a big joy for me tonight to welcome for a reflection on these times, the nature of these times, the unfolding of these times, to welcome my dear friend and colleague and teacher, um, Lama Willa Miller, Lama Willa Baker. Let me get that right. And she's going to share some reflections with us with some ground in the Hopi Prophecy, um, a recent version of that. Just a little bit of introduction. Willa is the founder of the Natural Dharma Fellowship, and she serves as the co-lead teacher at Wonderwell Mountain Refuge in New Hampshire. She's a scholar, a scholar of Tibetan Buddhism, an author of several books, a longtime practitioner and teacher of Dzogchen and embodied wisdom. And she's also one of the founding members of the Council on the Uncertain Human Future since 2014, along with Diana Chapman Walsh, who's here, and Susie Moser and myself. So we've been thinking about these questions together for a long, long time. So Willa, please share with us your thoughts on this moment in time, this path as it's unfolding, if you would. And thank you so much for being with us.
Sarah, thank you for that introduction, and it's a pleasure to be here tonight. Yeah, such a history of being together in this conversation, and I have so much gratitude for the work that Sarah has been doing with Council that has really impacted my own community here in New Hampshire and beyond, and it's just been such a support to me personally to do what this Hopi prophecy that I'm about to share is asking of us, or is putting forth as a way of being, to lean in to these unprecedented times with community and circles of care. So I'm going to start with reading this prophecy. I first heard it when my colleague, who's a co-guiding teacher of mine here, um, here in New Hampshire at Wonderwell Mountain Refuge, shared it. And she shared it at an eco Dharma retreat that we were having. And at the time, it just really impacted me. I knew nothing about this document. And so it was coming at me, just the way that something comes at you in a hall, comes at you just spontaneously, like a river or stream that felt like such a balm to my soul. And that was maybe 2 years ago. And I circled it back recently and read it again and find it for some reason to be a beacon, to be a call that deeply resonates with how I'm feeling right now in these times. It resonates with the state of consciousness that seems to be needed to meet such unprecedented change and um, the kinds of words that we need when we're standing on the rim of rupture. So I'm going to share that with you. I want to say that the prophecy is um, said to be, and I mean that by the sources that I've traced on the internet, a share from a council of Hopi elders. But in other places on the same internet, the provenance of it is feels uncertain. The provenance is uncertain. So I just want to say that or share that in the spirit of full transparency. But I'm part of a tradition where many of the sacred texts are apocryphal, which means they rise out of the unknown, they rise out of the deep communal consciousness of a culture, and there is no authorship. So for me, authorship is not um, the measure of what is impactful or true. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and share this with you, and we can get started. I'm just going to say a few words about the impact and how I'm receiving it, reading it. So the prophecy, someone's needs to mute. I think someone's mute is on. If you could check your mute, thank you. The prophecy is titled online in the places where it's shared. Seems to have been circulating in the early 2000s. It's not ancient. It may have been born in that time period. We are the ones we've been waiting for. You have been telling people that this is the 11th hour. Now you must go back and tell the people that this is the hour. And there are things to be considered. Where are you living? What are you doing? What are your relationships? Are you in right relation? Where is your water? Know your garden. It is time to speak your truth. Create your community. Be good to each other. And do not look outside yourself for your leader. Then he clasped his hands together, smiled, and said, "This could be a good time. There is a river flowing now very fast. It is so great and swift that there are those who will be afraid. They will try to hold on to the shore. They will feel they are being torn apart and will suffer greatly. No, the river has its destination. The elders say we must let go of the shore, push off into the middle of the river, keep our eyes open and our heads above the water. And I say, see who is there with you and celebrate. At this time in history, we are to take nothing personally, least of all ourselves. For the moment that we do, our spiritual growth and journey come to a halt. The time of the lone wolf is over. Gather yourselves. Banish the word struggle from your attitude and your vocabulary. All that we do now must be done in a sacred manner and in celebration. We are the ones we've been waiting for. And it's signed as being written on June 8th, 2000 by a Hopi elder. Maybe someday someone will come forward and claim it. So just a few words on the my thoughts on this prophecy, what speaks to me, and why I think it is such a powerful statement, parable, wisdom, wisdom words for our time. You know, it begins with, just one moment. This is the 11th hour. Now you must go back and tell the people that this is the hour, and there are things to be considered. And for me, what's powerful about that 11th hour is, you know, we've all been realizing that this is a time of great risk, and we have been seeing this coming for decades. What's happening, what's beginning to happen now. And we have, if you studied the science or been in this community of counsel, come to know, come to explore that what's happening is not small, it is a great immensity, that we are moving into an age of mass uh, biosphere instability and change. We are in a moment when species will disappear and our own species will be tested for its ability to survive. We know this. Um, and in the prophecy, it's given this term, the 11th hour, kind of like the final phase of this age, the final threshold, the rim of rupture. And so it starts off encouraging us to work to grasp the immensity and to express the immensity, to begin to communicate the immensity, go back and tell the people that this is the hour. It reminds me of the first of the ethical maxims for a marginally habitable planet by Larry Churchill. The first of those maxims is to work to grasp the immensity. So it has that tone to it in the beginning of the prophecy, work to grasp the immensity. Second, it brings into question our choices. It asks us to ask ourselves, where are you living? What are you doing? Where is your water? These questions are the questions that animals, the animal human, before we had the four walls and all the protections and the um, mm, the shelters of this modern age that we would have been asking often. We would have been inquiring where our water was. And the prophecy encourages us to go back to that indigenous consciousness, to ask ourselves, are we in a safe place? And how are we behaving? How are we in right relationship with ourselves, with the planet, with one another, to reevaluate our choices? Third, the prophecy says, know your garden. Get close to the earth, to your food, to begin to ask yourself, what can I do to be in right relationship with the soil, with the sunshine, with the water, to begin to become intimate with the source of your nourishment. Speak your truth, the prophecy says. Don't turn away from what you are seeing and feeling. Speak your truth implies for me, especially as an introvert, but probably for most of you, how hard it is to actually speak our truths, to embrace our vulnerability at this time, instead of turning away, trying to be invulnerable, closing in on our truths. Let them be known to those around us. Create your community, the prophecy says. So find our circles of care and do not look outside ourself for our leader. That one is very powerful for this time, for me. We've been looking outside of ourselves for our leaders. We have been doing the right thing as citizens of this planet. We've been voting and we've been involved in maybe political activism or demonstrations to some degree, or signing petitions. And the change, at least in terms of the outcome right now, is not coming down from the top. What's coming down from the top is not what's going to transform our situation or help us. So, beginning to think about nourishing the seeds below, Perhaps change isn't going to come from the top. Maybe it's going to rise up from below. Maybe what we're looking at is the beginning of a great uprising. So, how important it is to find those circles of care, to find our community, to begin to weave the tapestry of relationships now, not waiting for some future. And then this metaphor of the river. There is a river moving very fast. And I love that metaphor. It's in the middle of the prophecy. And I feel like it captures this time when time is speeding up. We can see it all around us. Right now, I'm in New Hampshire. We've never had, ever, in the experience of the people that live here in this area, a summer this dry. And the grass is golden like in California. Or in New Hampshire, the grass never has been anything but green when I've been here at this season. It's absolutely golden. It is brown. It is crackling, and there's fire hazard here. The river is moving very fast. Is speeding up. I think that will happen as we hit these tipping points. We're going to see changes occurring on a scale and at a pace that we've never imagined possible. And so, what do we do? The prophecy says, do we stay on the shore with this fast moving river and try to hold on, even though we're being pulled? And the prophecy says, no, let go, push off from the shore. Do not waste your energy resisting the inevitable. There's some real truth to that right now. No one of us can reverse what's happening, but we can engage and participate in the flow of life, the flow of where we are as it is. We can't change it, but we can begin to find who else is in the river with us. So the prophecy says, see who is there with you and celebrate. That's such a surprising. I remember when that part came, when I first heard it read, see who's there with you. Don't mourn, celebrate. It's very counterintuitive. Yes, word celebrate. I was looking up the etymology, comes from the Latin celebratus, which means gathering in numbers in order to honor. So now is the time to find community and engage in practices of honoring, rituals of respect. And of course, while it's not there in the prophecy, to hold each other in love and compassion while we grieve the losses, but don't live in the losses. You know, live in the honoring, live in the appreciation, live in the gratitude for what is here now because it may not be here forever. And then take nothing personally, least of all yourselves, the prophecy says. So it's interesting to reflect on that for me, how I spend some of my emotional time taking this crisis personally. You know, I hadn't really thought about that so much, but it's true. As human beings, it's hard not to feel this kind of species guilt. And yet, from a larger picture, from a bigger picture, stepping back, Homo sapiens has been going rogue for a moment, which means centuries. But is also biologically been a tribe of the children of Gaia doesn't mean we're separate from this ecosystem either. So this idea of blaming and finger pointing back at ourselves, we don't have time for that. You know, this is the sense of that poem, the rhythm of we are going down the river. And our survival depends on letting go of the old paradigm about the me. He says in the prophecy, the time of the lone wolf is over. The me paradigm is over, and understand that it is the time of the new community. It's the time of community. We're in a time of great vulnerability. potential intimacy and potential deep community, and where we can have this invitation into the we paradigm, from the me paradigm to the we paradigm. We can lean on intimacy. And just two more points about the prophecy, and then I'll open it up for counsel. All that we must, this is another astonishing kind of phrase for me that so spoke to me when I heard it. All that we do now must be done in a sacred manner and in celebration. And how I take that, it really spoke to me as the way that, say, um, I've been involved for a lifetime with Tibetan Buddhism. And in the Tibetan environment, death is encountered as an extended opportunity for community, celebration, and liminality of transformation and metabolization, not as an end. It's one of the things that really attracted me to Tibetan Buddhism, that there's this long period of 49 days where every day people get together and they eat together and they chant together and they sit with the dead corpse, and they do ritual, and it's all about the togetherness and the love, and it gives space for the morning, but there's not this sense of living in the morning. We're living in the togetherness, living in sacred space. So this is a liminal moment. We can find others who take that view, who see great loss and collapse and death, not merely as end, but as a liminal doorway. Liminal doors call for ritual, they call for sacred attention. And the most resilient will understand this moment as an entry into a timeless, sacred present, who will understand that this is the time we were made for. We're here for this moment for a reason. And then the final point in the prophecy that I really found interesting and thought-provoking: banish the word struggle from your vocabulary. Banish the word struggle from your vocabulary. And how I see that is this decision that we have to make every time we encounter adversity, to either become a victim or to walk the path of resilience. Become a victim, walk the path of resilience. And we don't need to to enter the identity of the victim. We don't have to let the river consume us. We can learn how to swim. So these are my thoughts on the prophecy, and I'll turn it over now to you, Sarah, and move us into what's next.
Thank you, Willa. I want to ask you one question, if you don't
Mm-hmm.
mind, to follow up on what you've just offered. Is there anything else you would add in relationship to the massive traumas we're experiencing as a nation?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think traumas are an invitation, to grow closer to one another, to get into small community, and to not hold it alone. I think that the idea that we can hold massive trauma alone is not sustainable. So I just think that can be unfolded in here about the time of the lone wolf is over. Yeah. And I think for myself, it's been really important to have practices of metabolizing suffering, and might call that also the, you know, the witnessing of the suffering of others, we experience secondary trauma on the basis of that witnessing, on the basis of being present to that. So learning to not turn away, but to continue to let that flow through us and not let it get stuck in our bodies and our minds. But yeah, yeah, not to turn away, engage, right? Find our people and engage. That's just my thought. But it's provocative. This prophecy definitely provocative, and that's partly why I'm drawn to it. It's been a really interesting point of reflection. Yeah. Mm,
Thank you.
mm.
We will take it up now in depth with you and with each other. So, Aaron, if you can break us out, and thank you again, Willa, so much for opening these questions and offering your insights into them tonight.